Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a good morning. Uh, Let me, first of all, welcome you to the revolution in the audio storytelling, which Pocket FM is leading. Uh, Before I actually start, let me just pitch a question that how many of you were aware of Pocket FM before coming to this conference? Show of hands. Very few, right? And there are no surprises to it. Everywhere I go, that's the reaction, right? Uh, so Pocket FM is something which is building the undercurrents. We started from India. We went to US. We went to UK. We went to Mexico. Now we are in Germany. Now, going forward, we are going to expand to Europe going forward, right? Let me start with a short video. Yeah. So, as the video said, right, uh, we are around 200 million plus listeners community across the globe, right? In 2024 alone, we streamed 100 billion plus minutes across the globe, across 75,000 plus audio series and 20 countries. Now, these are the numbers not just out of fancy. These are the real numbers which we have garnered across large markets like India, US, Mexico, Australia, Canada, UK, and Germany, right? And from here, we are going to expand more further. With these numbers, actually, Pocket FM is kind of redefining how audio storytelling is monetized and engaging it can be, right? Let me take you to the journey of Pocket FM, how it came into being, right? Pocket FM was founded in 2018 by founder Rohan Nayak, and the story goes like this. So Rohan was once, in his daily travel to office, he used to commute 3 hours every day. In that 3 hours commute, he would either listen to music, which will become repetitive after some point of time. He would listen to audiobooks, which will, again, are not as engaging as possible. And either he would listen to conversational podcasts, which again become boring after some point of time. You can't do it every day for 3 hours, every day commuting to office. This led him to think of, can there be an audio offering which could engage users daily for maximum number of hours? And thinking that, he quit his banking job and co-founded the startup with 2 other people, Nishant and Prateek. From 2018 to 2019, 2020, we did multiple pivots, right? We tried what it could be the solution which can actually engage users nonstop. We started with live audio. Yeah, it was great in the beginning, but then we could not find enough people who could conduct these sessions continuously every day. We moved to audiobooks. We realized that audiobooks are not as engaging as possible, and people would start it but would never finish it. We moved to community-led audio, right? Again, community-led audio become very niche because it would only attract niche communities to listen to it, but was not universal. We also explored erotica, right? That would have very high initial appeal, but then users would churn out from the platform very quickly. We explored audio courses, maybe why can't people learn on the go? Again, that became very boring. We also tried audio movies, 3-hour movies. But then, once user consumes a movie, he would not come back to the platform. We also tried short series. But after trying almost 10 pivots in those 20 years, we figured out something which was very unique and which shot up our engagement almost 4 times. And that was the birth of audio series. Audio series actually came into being as a thought that it has the large appeal of an OTT web series and a strong engagement of a TV soap opera, right? So the engagement times, the users who came in with a high appeal stuck to it and keep listening because it became more and more engaging for them, right? So what is an audio series? Audio series is actually equivalent to a TV show It is a serialized fiction with episodic content. Each episode duration is somewhere around 10 to 12 minutes, and it goes on and on like 12,000 episodes. So users, once start the audio series, like have the content to consume till the end of it. Uh, a good part about this is every episode of an audio series is crafted in a way that it starts with a strong opening. It is very engaging mid, and every episode ends with a strong cliffhanger, which makes user to start the next episode. And through this pattern, they end up consuming this audio series every day till the end of the series. Uh, but let me ask you a question. How many of you have fallen asleep while like listening to an audio book, while stayed up for one more episode of a web series? Right? Yeah, that's the primary difference between an audio book and an audio series, right? Audio series doesn't let you sleep, right? You want to know what happens next and you keep awake, right? Audiobooks is a category which is designed for the reading format, right? If you convert it as is from a book to an audio format, it doesn't enhance your listening experience. It's good for reading, right? You can go back, turn the pages, but in audio, it's not as seamless, right? Podcast, on the other side, is more conversational, more informational, but not as entertaining and engaging. Like, would you classify a documentary, a news show, and a Netflix web series in the same category? No, you wouldn't, right? So for us, audio series is like the Netflix web series, whereas podcasts are like documentaries, news shows, or anything informational which is out there. In terms of, if I talk about the apps which offer podcast, audiobooks versus audio series, I think audio series is the space where only Pocket FM is operating globally. Whereas in audiobooks and podcasts, there are multiple players like Spotify, Audible, Storytel. In terms of market landscape, I think it's very fragmented space where these people exist, whereas Pocket FM is capturing this completely untapped space, right? Most of the content in audiobooks or or podcast platforms are non-exclusive, right? You find same audiobook on Audible, on Spotify, and some versions of it on YouTube as well. Similarly, the topics of podcasts are universal. You find on these apps and you find them on YouTube for free, right? Whereas audio series are completely originally curated, exclusive content, exclusive to Pocket FM, which also builds in platform loyalty, right? If you have to listen to a show called Saving Nora, you can go nowhere else but have to come to Pocket FM, right? And this demonstrate because of the nature of the product, the engagement time is almost 2x of what people spend on a daily basis on audiobooks and podcasts vis-a-vis an audio series. Like 120 minutes, around 115, 120 minutes per day is daily average engagement time of a user who tunes in. And this reflects in annual revenue run rate. The average revenue from a paying user is $150 for an audio series, which is our platform, and on average, $89 for audiobooks and podcasts, right? $150 actually is greater than what Netflix also gets from a user on average in a year, right? So this demonstrates it is not just for engagement, but it leads strong monetization as well. But while doing all this, we stepped back and tried to understand that why this category became so strong. What is the primary reason, right? So if we look at how the video ecosystem has evolved over last 10 years, from left to right, if you see, there's a short form content called TikTok, which is a quick short form video entertainment. Then you have mid-sized entertainment where you have Instagram and YouTube, where you have videos 1 hour to 5 hour length videos which engage and entertains you. Then you have long form where you have Netflix, Disney, Amazon Prime, or maybe TV shows, right? In video, there's a complete spectrum of the content offerings from short form to long form. In audio, I think that was completely missing, and this I'm talking about pure play entertainment, right? Spotify do still have some entertainment show, but that's largely short form. If you look at mid-size to large size, complete white space. And Pocket FM realized that this white space is something where no other player globally exists and tried to create a play in this domain, right? So we think that this is a new form of entertainment. There have always been movies which entertain. There have been TV series and web series which have been entertaining users. right? But audio series is a new form of entertainment which is emerging, and I think it is going to be there for long. Uh, Now, two key factors which actually worked really in favor of this, other than audiobooks and podcast, is first the entertainment TAM, right? Who on earth doesn't want entertainment, right? Through audio series, you can target everyone, irrespective of the liking they have. Like everyone loves romance, everyone loves drama, everyone loves fantasy, and that's the popularity of your Netflix of the world, right? So this is what large TAM this category brings to the table. And the second biggest advantage which this category has, even over the video category, is the low cost of production, right? It doesn't take millions of dollars to produce one series, right? It's very low cost. It's actually 1/10 the cost to produce a video series of 1/10 the length, right? Plus, with AI advancements coming in, the cost is further going down, right? So with low cost, you can create so much content which can engage users across the world in this format. And I think that's the biggest strength of this category, which is helping us scale this category across the globe. Let's talk about the use cases. Now, one interesting thing we discovered that people consume video when they are free, right? When they have 3 hours in a day, they come back from home, or like in the morning while getting ready. But audio is something they consume every time. One of the biggest use case of Pocket FM is what people say that they consume it while they're working. So anyone who is working on a low cognitive load job where they know what it's clearly defined process, right? They're putting this AirPods on and kind of listening to it continuously. You can't watch video on the job, right? You can't watch Netflix on the job, but you can definitely continue to listen to audio series while you're working, and not only working in the office, but working in your home as well, right? For homemakers, housewives, they are also like have a very big use case for this. The second biggest use case, what we feel is very universal. People pick it up before just going to bed. Now, one, this helps them as a companion, because before going to bed, you would actually want to shut the screen and just focus on sleeping, but this, they put their ears on and continue listening. The third largest use case is commuting. Most of the professionals spend in large metros 2 to 3 hours commuting to their office in one day. And this helps them engage continuously without actually looking into screen or deviating their attention. And the fourth use case, which is again, exercising, relaxing, which is rather small, but I think this is also a very important use case for the people who are engaged in running, who are engaged in cooking, who are engaged in doing daily work, right? So this is this category which engages users through the day, 24 hours in a day, except when they're sleeping, right? If we look at what are the key motivations, why this category got so much instant appeal from the users compared to any other category we have in audio, is number one, it gives them escapism with privacy. Now, I would say this is the private medium in a true sense. TV, you still share with your household. Even when you look at your mobile screen, you see 10 different eyes popping at your mobile screen. But while listening to this show, you are completely listening it very privately. The second very important factor is the low cognitive load. Now, these series are not designed in a way for users to go deeper, think deeper, right? They are very low engagement. You can focus on your work while listening to this content. They can you are engaged, entertained, as well as you're working, right? So you don't have to think aloud or go deep into series to just focus on the series. The third biggest paradox, I think, which we listen to most in case of video is choices, right? Every day we open to Netflix and figure out, okay, what do I want to watch today? And we scroll for some time and close it, right? With audio series, especially long format audio series, right? If you are hooked onto a series, it goes to 200 hours, right? So if you are consuming 3 hours in a day, you are taken care for next 60 days. You don't need to think of what do I want to listen today, right? So that's an important aspect of the series. So it reduces the decision making to a large extent. While listening to this, people start building affection to the lead character. and they want to follow their journey. They start envisioning them in themselves, right? And continue listening to the show. While listening to this, they start rooting for the underdogs, right? They want the underdog to win. And for this, they still continue to listen to the show. Every episode ends with unpredictable cliffhangers, which again hooks them to not leave this series and go anywhere else. Well, suspense situations where it keeps building episode by episode by episode hooks the user to stay with the series till the end. And then eventually, how do users start it? Every series starts with a high drama kickoff point, right? It doesn't start with a character building. It doesn't start with a scene building. It just starts with a high impact drama. And I'll show you some instances of how do we start an audio series in the next slide. So this is actually the primary mode of our user acquisition. So far, we have not been acquiring users from the audio platforms. We acquire users from YouTube, from Facebook, from Instagram, from TikTok. We create a video entry point for every show. Once people watch these promos, and these promos usually are from 1 minute length to 30 minutes length. Once they're hooked into it, they end up downloading the app to know what happens next. Let me play one of the leading shows promo, Saving Nora.
Well, it's actually true. You're pregnant.
What? It can't be true, I'm virgin.
Well, we've done all the checks. I don't know, maybe it's a miracle. Congratulations.
But my father, he'll kick me out of the house. Let's check again. There must be some mistake. I'm just fat.
Calm down. You are really pregnant.
Then, let's get rid of the problem.
Please, take it easy, miss.
Let's do this.
Deep breath. Deep breath. Deep breath. Come on. Well, unfortunately, this is no longer possible in your case. And I'm not suggesting you, because you're only 19. With your physiology, it could lead to infertility down the road. Drink the water. Everything will be all right.
At that moment, I thought my life was over. But it was just the beginning.
That's one of our drama shows. And I'll show you that one of the very big genres, which is fantasy.
Who said you could ask me out? Do you even have an ability?
What?
My last boyfriend was a level 3. You think I'd slum it with a level 1 loser like you?
I only asked you for your number because we're lab partners.
Unbelievable.
I live in a world where everyone has superpowers except me.
My dad showed me how to do this.
Fantastic, thank you. Quinn, you're up next.
Looks like it's my turn. This is gonna suck. I was born without any powers.
What the hell was that, Quinn?
Do you even have a special ability?
No, but my parents died in a war with alien invaders. They left me an ability book, but for some reason, I haven't been able to open mine.
Your parents what?
My parents couldn't afford an ability book.
No powers and he's poor?
Talentless talent! Talentless talent! Talentless talent! Talentless talent!
I'll show them. One day, they'll all learn what it means to mess with Quinn Talon.
Yeah. So that's our actually one of the highest grossing. These two are one of our highest grossing series. Let's talk about now how do we make money, right? I think that was one of the biggest struggle for us when we began. How do we make money from these series? After a lot of experimentation, we even launched a subscription-led model in the beginning. We stumbled upon this model, which is a microtransaction-led model, right? It is a pay-as-you-go model, which means every day we give at least 2 episodes to every user for free, right? So every day you log into Pocket FM, come back, you get 2 free episodes. But if you want to listen to more than 2 episodes, you need to buy our coin packs and unlock those episodes. Now, users who just can't get enough of it in a day, they want more than 2 episodes, they end up unlocking more and more episodes, which leads us to do 5 million transactions per month globally, right? These are the users who are consuming not 1 hour, 2 hours, but our hardcore users, our true users consume 6 hours of content in a day. So they end up paying a significant amount of money to us. What this microtransaction model has also led us to do is to lower the entry barrier. Every time user has to start a video platform, they have to start with at least a $10 or $15 entry pack, right? A subscription entry pack. For us, the first pack starts as low as $2, right? One, they can listen for free every day. If they still want to start low, they can start with $2. And then subsequently, if they want to consume more, they can buy higher pack purchases. And what this has also led to that users are only consuming the content which they are paying for, right? Now this tells us that if I have to pay for every episode, right, I want to listen to, the content has to be highly engaging and highly retaining, right? And the way we curate the content, the retention is so high that users, despite not every episode being free, they end up paying for it, unlocking it, and continue to listen to it, right? Now, what has it led to? Our revenues, and that's a number we actually saw in 3 years. In 2021, we were making 0 revenues. In 2024, we have made $250 million USD annually. Now, that is something I think which is very unique. This is even faster than some of the video platforms have scaled in last 10 years, right? And majority of this revenue, I would say more than 90% of revenue, comes from user payments and not from ads, right? Less than 10% of revenue we get from ads. These are global revenue numbers with majority coming from US, followed by India, and then European markets. But where is this revenue coming from? What are the shows that are contributing to it? Our biggest blockbuster is Saving Nora, which has standalone garnered 31 million USD, right? Almost inching towards 500 million plays on the show. The second biggest show in terms of revenue is My Vampire System, already surpassed 20 billion. Our third biggest show, Instamillionaire, this was actually one of our first shows where we started scaling and which helped us find our product market fit, is at 18 million US dollar revenues, followed by Instampire, 17 million, Returns, 17 million, and Billionaire Accidental Bride at 16 million, right? Would you have any idea that how much would a average Hollywood movie make when it's launched? An average of a Hollywood movie stands at around $10 to $12 million, right? Some of these series are doing more than a Hollywood movie, which is a clear proof that this category has so much appeal, and if we go on, we are the only player right now, and if there are more players, we go on build this as a category. I think this has a lot of scope to scale across the globe. We already have 7 series which are beyond 10 million revenues, and 30 series which have already garnered 1 million plus revenues standalone, right? This is the power of audio series. This is the power of engagement. This is the power of creating content which truly appeals to the user and they want to pay for it. But now, how do we create this content? Like, this seems quite simplistic, right? And I'll go a bit more deeper on how we're doing it. But the step one is like we partner globally with players who own IPs and acquire IPs in all formats. It could be written, it could be novels, it could be anything, right? Each IP is then tested for market suitability in the market we are launching. If that market suitability test is passed, right, and I'll go deeper into that as well, how do we do that? We go ahead and adapt or localize that IP. We're not translating, We are adapting and localizing that IP using the local artists, local writers. Then we lead local production of those markets, of those IPs in those markets. And eventually, we go to market with our video promo, like I just showed you in a couple of slides back. Right? That's how we are creating a market-focused, AI-led as well, content strategy, which is creating truly global content for the local market, localized very locally. Now, definitely the numbers sound a bit fascinating. I don't know if that sounded to you, but a lot of this could be enabled leveraging AI, right? We keep AI at the forefront of our innovation. We leverage AI threefold, right? The first and foremost, we start AI at our blockbuster identification engine, right? Earlier, we could not identify blockbuster. It would take us months and months to identify what a blockbuster could be, and once we find it, how do we launch it, go about it? But AI has fastened that speed to 1/100th, I would say, right? And we are able to find blockbusters much and more faster, right? The second thing is AI is enabling our writers to write faster and more content, right? AI is helping us localizing. The first draft now is being created by AI of localization, and then local writers work on that first draft, which helps them innovate better, focus more on creativity than focusing on basic localization or translation errors, right? And the third place where we leverage AI is our recommendation engine, which is again AI-led. System learns very quickly that what is the preference of this user, what time, what genre, what kind of characters appeal to him, and we start recommending these shows to those users, leveraging our AI-backed recommendation engine. Let's go a bit deeper in terms of how do we identify blockbusters, right? Now, this is actually very tricky. It took us 3 years actually to bring this to the stage that we are now very confident in our AI blockbuster engine. First of all, it helps us in title selection. Earlier, we used to evaluate 200 titles in a year. Once we started evaluating using AI, we could evaluate 10,000 titles in a year. That's phenomenal growth. Then, instead of getting our professional writers in, we first create show pilots using AI. Now, that pilot could last from 3 minutes or 30 minutes to 10 hours. And once that pilot is ready, a pilot creation now takes less than 3 days, and the cost has come significantly down to $140 per pilot, right? The third step, we test the pilots on social media and see, are users excited by this content? Are they clicking on it? Are they completing what we have put out there? Then, fourth step, we put this content in our app and see how our own users, acquired users, reacting to it. Are they completing first hour of the content? Are they completing 2 hours? Are they completing 5 hours? What are the completion rates? Then we go into a show incubation stage where we start targeting this show to the relevant target audience, which again, we identify as the core audience for the show. And once a show passes all these steps, right, we say that, and we evaluate the show on 10 unique metrics in terms of appeal and retention, we find a true blockbuster, right? We do find a lot of shows which do 500K revenues, 600K revenues, but true blockbusters which have the potential to go beyond 10 million is identified through this process, right? These 7 blockbusters combined have garnered around 200 million revenue and 6 billion plays on their episodes, right? That's the power which brings AI and enhances the capability for us to scale faster. And once a blockbuster is identified, we launched it completely with professional writers and professional voiceover artists to the market. This is the second stage of our AI flywheel, where we have created this co-pilot called Atlas, which does a first-level adaptation of the show, right? This is completely built in-house, leveraging multiple LLM models. The first level of localization happens, and the writers start working. A German writer would start working to a first basic German localized version, and then they enhance this show with their creativity, with their local nuances, with their understanding to make it much and more better. What has this helped writers do? Earlier, writers would would only be able to adapt 10 hours of content in a month. This has significantly improved their speed from 20 to 40 hours of content a month, right? What I'm able to do, I'm able to produce high-quality content at high speed for my users who want to consume 6 hours of content in a day, right? So this is the way we have been able to scale. Germany, we just launched like 3 months back. We're already trending at, we've garnered 3 million revenues, and we are trending at $8 million revenue ARR in Germany itself, strongly building on this backbone of AI. What is our European vision? We started with India, learned a lot. We took it to US, learned a lot. We started UK, learned the further nuances of adapting from US to UK. The English is not the same all the way. We went and tried the first non-English language, non-Indian language in German. Parallelly, we launched Spanish in Mexico, right? We continue to scale these markets. By the end of this year, we will be launching in Spain, France, and Italy with their localized content. We aim to scale faster. By the end of next year, I think we are targeting to touch somewhere around 1 billion in ARR globally. And that's the target we have set for ourselves. Yeah, so we are kind of right now trying to create the future of entertainment. Let me just take you back a bit in a journey. In entertainment field, we have seen innovation coming in every 10 years. 1990s to the 2000s was an era of TV soaps which came into play, telenovelas came into play. 2000 to 2010, the era of FM radio stations, it scaled to another level. 2010 to 2020s was an era of video entertainment, video OTT entertainment. I believe 2020 to 2030 is going to be an era of audio long-form serialized fiction. And I think this category, we are just getting started. It's just the beginning. There's much more to do. I believe it will be a multi-billion-dollar industry. And we want more and more players to come join us in building this type of content, this kind of category, so that we can take audio to another scale, which we can just like imagine in the future. Thank you.
Do some questions?
Yeah.
Ashu, thank you. That's fascinating. What a great story. And the way you've scaled is just incredible. We have a few minutes. Would you like to ask a question to Ashu? It's an amazing story, this. I mean, such a sort of a well-kept secret, but a brilliant secret. And now not such a secret.
Yeah, I think we failed a lot. We innovated at every step.
Right.
We used technology at the right time, which helped us scale even faster. Yeah, and like we keep innovating with AI across audio, localization, voices, everywhere.
Fantastic. Right, who's going to ask a question? Because right, there's a lady here. If you can get a microphone to her, please. Lady just here with a hand up, in a shirt that's very similar colour to mine, I think. You have such good taste, madam. Can you say where you're from, please?
Hi, I'm Leanne from London. Thank you for sharing. I thought that was really fascinating to see your journey. I was wondering, because you said you use AI a lot in the development of your content. Is that AI technology that you've developed in-house, or is it existing tools that you're using to develop the content?
It's a combination of both, right? Every tool which is available in the market is not as perfect to your needs, right? So we build layers, we build prompt engineering on the models. We eventually end up combining 2 or 3 models to actually create a solution which works to our needs, right? Across localization, across voice, across music. Yeah.
Okay, another lady here next to her. If you...
Hi.
Hi.
Whoa, that was so loud, sorry. Barry from New York.
Hello.
I'm curious, so when you do bring on writers, how does the hiring process work for that? I'm also thinking very American in the sense of like WGA, SAG, union kind of things, and obviously that's not part of this, but I am just curious like how you bring on writers.
Like, if I get your question right, how do we hire writers?
Yeah, yes,
right?
essentially.
So again, there was a lot of learning there as well. We started with audio writers, we started with book writers. Eventually, we thought that what we figured out, the screenplay, people with the experience in screenplay writing works the best for us, right? Because every episode is kind of curated in that way. We started hiring screenplay writers from major TV networks across the markets we operate in. And eventually, I think now a lot of writing team which we've built is largely based on referrals we get from our own team, and we've been able to scale that.
To answer your question? Yeah? Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, but now I have a follow-up.
Oh, good,
Are they,
good.
So are they like staff writers or are they kind of freelance writers? Like, is this their full, yeah, it's just super curious.
Yeah. So we hire writers on contract. These contracts are monthly payment contracts. These are not contracts based on the output they generate, right? So we treat them as our staff writers only, but the contract's length is minimum 6 months and goes up to 2 to 4 years. And we keep renewing them.
Okay, fantastic. Right, any more questions? Any more hands?
Yep.
Where are we? Oh, the lady here. Thank you very much.
Hi, Norma Jean. I'm American, but
What
I
a
live
great
in Europe.
name, Norma Jean. You
Thanks
an
for
Elton
that.
John fan?
No, it's a family name.
Oh, nice.
I just had a quick question. I mean, obviously the audio drama model is working out for you guys incredibly, and you're having exponential growth. Do you have plans to expand into a micro monetization model for podcast or external audio subscriptions?
I think in the short term, we just want to focus clearly on this one category because we see there's a lot of potential in this category itself. We actually explored microtransactions with shorter formats. The challenge with that is that our model gives free content to users so that they keep engaged.
Yeah.
Right? We are giving 2 episodes free every day. Now, imagine if your series is, let's say, 10 episodes long, right? Users would just come and consume for free in next 5 days. Whereas in our model, it's like user gets, no, I want to finish the series, right? It has 1,000 episodes. So they, even if they're not paying for all 1,000 episodes, they end up paying for at least 500 episodes in that series, right? Hence, this model works really beautifully in long-form content.
Yeah.
Right? In short form, we keep experimenting, right? But we are still not find out a right way.
Yeah, it's a totally different model. That's interesting. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Any other hands? Just scanning the room. Anybody this side?
Hi, hello.
There you go. Hi.
Hi. Vladimir here from Serbia. So just a quick question. I'm sorry I missed the beginning, so you might have told this, but before you started making money, like you said in 2020, there was zero revenue. I guess you had to invest a lot in order to start this series, to hire everybody, to create an app, to do all the transactions and so on. So can you share with us how much money did you invested before you started making money, and where did that money come from?
We are a VC-funded startup. We have raised money in pre-seed stage, seed stage, Series A, Series B, and we've crossed Series C as well. So far, we have raised more than $150 million across investors from the globe. Lightspeed Ventures is one of our big investors. We initially, when we were small, we raised the first round of $5 million. With that round, we actually tried to innovate with low-cost content. We figured out that an audio series and entertainment content need not be very expensive, right? The one that user likes. You don't have to create a Grammy-worthy effects, content, because if more effects you put into it, the more user have to focus on the content, right? We created in a way which is largely single narrator, voice acting to different characters, and very light music effects in the background, right? Which is a low-cost model. So yes, to your question, we are funded well by the VCs, but then while this funding does not last forever, we keep innovating and reducing our costs while we make money.
Okay, great. Any more, or are we done? I think that's it. Great questions. Thank
No,
you. Oh, is there one there?
just
Sorry.
a quick question.
One here, yes.
Chris with Alphonic here. Do you do all the audio production yourselves?
Yes.
Or do you have freelancers or outsource this work? So
the core team which produces the content is in-house. We have Jill, who is our producer in Germany. We contract freelancers, especially voice artists, but our sound engineering, our mastering team, our writing team is completely in-house.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, look, great questions. Ashu, brilliant story, and really appreciate you coming to see us. Come back again another year. Please say thank you to Ashu Bahel.
Thank you so much.
From Pocket FM.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Right, 15-minute changeover. Next in here, it's going to be 3 of the top morning shows from Greece. What can we learn from Greece's top morning shows? Yeah. See you shortly. Well done.
I was fine.
It was very, very good.